All right, so listen, I know the other day when I said patriarchy is not biblical, I probably ruffled a few feathers and disturbed some people's cognitive dissonance. But it's true, and you might want to go ahead and hold your feathers down again, because I'm about to ruffle them even more and break it down all the way. Every patriarch in scripture had a matriarch, co-ruling with him. From the beginning, man and woman were commanded to take dominion over the earth together. His word instructs children to hear the instruction of your father and do not forsake the Torah or law of your mother. That's Proverbs 1:8. So where they got this narrow-minded and lopsided theological perversion that only the father rules, I will never understand. Yah's design expressly stated and demonstrated throughout scripture is co-rulership. Of course, the men will never correct and dismantle this false doctrine because they benefit from upholding the lie, or so they think. Truth is, a blind man could look around earth and see how ghetto, unjust, exploitative, and harmful patriarchal thinking and mansplaining has made it. It's so imbalanced because it lacks the voice of the woman. The harm is being done to both women and men. That's why they're out here crying that no one cares about their mental health, crying that women only want the top 10% of men, and whatever other lies they spew. All of their harmful narratives, though, come straight from other men. And the cognitive dissonance it takes to sit up here and protect their daughters from the very men they raise their sons to be has got to be exhausting. They claim, oh, not all men, but then warn their sisters and daughters to watch out for what? All men, right? Then they won't even stand up to their brethren when they see them doing harm in our communities. Further proof that men are afraid of other men, while trying to convince women that we shouldn't be afraid of them too. When they want us to date them, we should trust them. But it's different when it's another man. Then we should be afraid. What the hell? What the hell? What the hell, y'all take? Abraham asked Elohim about his situation with Ishmael and Hagar. Elohim said, listen to your wife. In Judges 4 and 5, we meet two of the most powerful married women in scripture, Deborah and Yael. Again, I say, both of whom were married. Deborah was Israel's army commander who led these knuckleheads out of yet another bondage that they had gotten us all into by doing the exact same irresponsible, egotistical, adulterous, idolatrous foolishness that we observe today. Rampant all across the world. And not one man in them daggone chapters questioned Deborah when she gave marching orders for battle. Except, of course, the one in scripture who goes down in history as forfeiting his victory over to a woman because of his disobedience and questioning the woman that Yah sent. There's a whole message in less than 10 verses right there. And all these men can say is, oh, Yah only promoted her over Israel because no man was qualified at the time. As if that statement in and of itself doesn't walk right into my point and embarrass the entire male gender. Like, y'all don't hear how dumb you sound? And where is the exegesis, sir? Precept your statement or it's trash. Just patriarchal rhetoric used to rule over women when you men aren't even ruling over yourselves. Furthermore, the people of the book are of African descent, and historically, women in African countries and nations have always been warriors and war leaders alongside men. To claim that Deborah was an anomaly is intellectually lazy at best and flat out lying at worst. I mean, the very definition of the word patriarchy regurgitates the curse listed in Genesis 3 and is therefore in direct opposition to Yah's original design for man and woman to co-rule. I blame underserved schools for some of this misunderstanding because many people reading scripture today lack the tools needed to firmly grasp the King's English. But that was even part of the whole dang conspiracy that's highlighted in Psalms 83, 3-5. If they can cause enough confusion about what the book says, then they can keep us all stumbling and groping in darkness and never really finding freedom in the light and in the truth. And furthermore, Yah's spirit never contradicts himself. If a fruit of the spirit is self-control, then how can men ruling over women be interpreted as man's divine right or some kind of divine order? How, Sway? Yah's spirit should rule over her, not a man. And the same spirit should also be ruling over the man. Both parties are encouraged and commanded to submit. Yah is a very detailed and nuanced Elohim. He promised to reveal the deep hidden things of scripture to us by his spirit. He says it in 1 Corinthians 2 and 10, Daniel 2:22, Jeremiah 33 and 3. And it's supposed to be the honor of kings to search that thing out, according to Proverbs 25 and 2. We are those gods and kings, according to Psalms 82 and 6, Revelations 1 and 6, who should be excited to search that thing out and get to the truth that sets us free. But men and women are both blinded by patriarchy, so they miss the very detailed and nuanced truths that would set us all free. Where the spirit of Yahuwah is, there is liberty. But the problem is people don't approach the scripture with a humble student's heart posture. And like he said, until you humble yourself like one of these little ones, you won't see the kingdom. Folks don't pray for a clean heart and a right spirit, that childlike spirit through which they can receive what Yahuwah is saying. Like they're puffed up with knowledge and worldly wisdom instead of Yah's wisdom. And as long as one filters through that lens, you filter scripture through that lens, you'll never reap the full benefits of it. I've watched men visibly pause and realize mid-teaching that they just said something that doesn't quite make sense and doesn't rightly divide or jive with other things they know about Yah's word, especially as it pertains to gender. Or they go back and forth in their logic, trying so hard to clarify and clean up and soften a statement that they realize it sounds misogynistic or sexist once it comes out of their mouths. And sadly, most of them never sit with it and sit with that weird feeling, also known as conviction, that they experience long enough to hear from Yah and allow him to correct it. They just brush right past it. To be fair, though, we've all done that with the scriptures, right? Like you realize something didn't sound right or didn't make sense in comparison to something else you learned, but you just kind of brush it off. Maybe you'll get to it later, but you forget about it. However, the issue is not all of us are positioned with such power in this patriarchal pyramid scheme, power to oppress and punch down on others. Men are, though. Patriarchy literally means the father or the man rules, which means a man's voice carries more weight and authority than a woman's does. What he says goes. He is centered and elevated as the priority to whom we should all cater and bow as if he's Yah himself. Male privilege automatically gives a man more credibility and presumed innocence than a woman because he's a patriarch. And the same dynamic is true in the Black community, but with an added layer of internalized racism, Stockholm, complex generational trauma to complicate things. If a man lies on a woman, he's more readily believed than the woman. If he lies on a child, he's believed over that child. If he lies on Yah and Yah's word, he's more readily believed than Yah. And that last one, that right there is how you know patriarchy is a clever little perversion that has attached itself, it's married itself to Yah's name and his word, and it's been riding his coattails for centuries like the most subtle beast in all the field, as described in Genesis chapter 3. And I'm pretty sure there are some incomplete thoughts in here because I just have too many open tabs in my brain. But prayerfully, this was enough for you to get the gist, enough for you to go back and study and look more closely yourself. But suffice it to say, I'm just really sick and tired, disgusted, infuriated. It is an abomination to me to keep watching people smear Yah's name and misrepresent his word. That crap irritates the mess out of me. And I just finally had to come out of silence and say something.